Hey everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. I am Austin Ward, joined by Spencer Holbrook, and it's breaking news week coming out of Ohio State. Probably not the most dramatic blow to many, but Kourt Williams, if you're not familiar with this freshman defensive back, hybrid linebacker bullet, this is a guy that has probably got more positive reviews out of anyone in this freshman class. So while on the surface, losing him to the season with an ACL injury may not seem like it's a huge deal for Ohio State's college football playoff chances, for the future for this kid, and really for the depth of this program, which is going to be tested in the secondary this year. Not having Kourt Williams available, I think, Spencer, that's a much bigger deal than maybe it would seem on first glance.
Yeah, he's a guy that they've talked about becoming a captain eventually. He's a guy that, this is one of those guys I think that really needed a freshman season just to catapult him into that conversation as to be a starter next year. And if there's a freshman season that you don't want to miss, it's this one when there's free eligibility on the line. You get to play, and theoretically you could play in 11 games this year. If Ohio State does what it wants to do with this season, the freshman could play in all 11 and still have the next year free. So you really wanted to have this experience this year. You wanted to see Kourt Williams on the field because he's just such a dynamic athlete in that secondary. And he could really, like I said, catapult himself into that starting conversation for next year. And now he goes into a rehab where it's already October 17th. I mean, you got to wonder when he's going to be ready, because it's not likely going to be for spring ball. And then you have to wonder about the 1st of August next year when fall ball starts, because we're on a different calendar this year than normal.
It's a great point that you bring up about the eligibility, because Kourt Williams will not be, missing out on that. He's not going to have to take a medical red shirt. I think that, from that side, he's only missing the bonus year, which, nothing is being taken away from him except that great opportunity. But I think no matter what, he was going to go beyond a 4. If this had been a normal year, if this hadn't been 2020 and everything else, I think this is a guy that was going to play more than 4 games and help Ohio State, because he was so versatile. You look at the safety position, it's unclear exactly how that spot's going to play out throughout the year. If you look at the bullet position that they've tried to incorporate and make a featured part of the defense, he's got that skill set that really lends itself to it. So he was going to play, he was going to help. Does that mean that he was going to be a starter or, play every week in the first half? I don't know, but I was really excited to find out, because, when Berm and I went out to California to watch him last year during his senior year, St. John Bosco in California, this dude, it was clear he was one of the best defensive players that I've seen in a long time. He had a sack on the second play, and that'll forever be imprinted. I wanted to see what he could do and how quickly he could do it.
He's a big, fast, physical athlete. And I think one of the things I was expecting out of Kourt Williams was, at least in game 2 or 3, I was expecting to see him on a punt or a kickoff or a kick return or something, just anywhere on the field. I think Ohio State was excited to get this guy on the field, and to just lose that, to have it taken away by a pretty serious injury that takes a lot of hard work and rehab to come back from. But if there's one guy in this freshman class that I feel like is going to work through it and be okay with it, it's going to be Kourt Williams, because he's been talked about as a future captain. He's been talked about as a leader of this class. And I think that it's about to be tested, but I think that might end up being a silver lining for Kourt moving forward.
Yeah. And then, naturally you wonder, who does that fall on then? Does that mean that Lathan Ransom gets more freshman snaps than he might otherwise? That's possible. Cameron Martinez, does that maybe thrust him into, can he get an adjustment and maybe play in the bullet instead of, starting where Ohio State really wanted him at cornerback more than anywhere else? Maybe that's something that transpires over the next couple weeks. And then a couple guys too that you've talked about, Spencer, that sometimes get overlooked when we focus on the next wave. A Bryson Shaw or a healthy Ronnie Hickman. It's not like Ohio State doesn't have other talented players. So not all eggs were in the Kourt Williams basket. I'm not trying to make it seem that way, but certainly when you looked at this freshman class with all the talent across it, Kourt Williams was a name that came up over and over again. And now, somebody else is going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, it opens the door for quite a few different guys, because I always say, put the freshmen on the field, let them see what they can do. But now you've got to have another guy step up to the plate and take some at-bats. It's got to happen. So whether it be Ronnie Hickman, who's coming off an injury from last year, Bryson Shaw, who we've heard about a few times when we didn't really expect to hear about him this offseason, those guys are going to have to play a bigger role. And you just wonder who takes over where Kourt Williams was in the depth chart, because I feel like maybe he wasn't in the 2 deep of that safety, but the 3 deep is just as important because you're on the 2 deep if the starter gets hurt. So Kourt Williams was going to play a role on this team, and he was going to play not a huge role, but I feel like he was going to play some sort of role. And now you've just it's got to be that next man up. Like you said, there's not a lack of talent. It's just, who is it going to be? We don't know yet, and I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, tough blow for Ohio State. Definitely a tough blow, more specifically for Kourt Williams. So much buzz about the guy that he could become, not just the guy he is, but the guy he could become, the player he could become for the Buckeyes. That can still happen, of course. It's just one injury setback. And as you said as well, Spencer, that you can take it to the bank that this guy will attack his rehab and come back probably better than ever. So tough situation, not what the Buckeyes wanted to be dealing with 1 week to go before the season finally opens against Nebraska next week. Kourt Williams is going to have to wait. He's going to need some surgery for that ACL injury. The Buckeyes will be hoping to get him back sometime next year. We'll see exactly what that time frame is later on. I appreciate Spencer Holbrook joining me this morning to break it all down for us at Lettermen Row. Way more coverage coming with us with the season coming. 7 more days. We're going to be there in the Horseshoe at noon. Buckeyes will be back. Thanks for joining us at Lettermen Row. We'll see you next time.